TAS segment, the animated series segment from our episode on Little Shop of Horrors, where we reviewed Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2, Episodes 3 and 4. We'll always have Tom Paris and Mugato Gumato. We are doing these so that in case you don't want to go back and listen to that episode, but want to hear our Lower Decks coverage, you can go back and do that, especially since Season 4, we are going to be doing live. So keep an eye out for Labor Day weekend when we will release our first episode of that, which is going to be the review on the Strange New Worlds Lower Decks crossover episode, Those Old Scientists. We're planning on releasing that on Labor Day weekend. So keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, hang loose and enjoy this episode on Star Trek Lower Decks. We'll always have Tom Paris and Mugato Gumato.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Robotech.
Come on now and set sail for the future. Fly the sky, oh, the lava.
First episode of the night. We'll always have Tom Paris. Directed by Bob Suarez and written by M. Willis. That's the only way it was credited. I tried to look for a full name, couldn't find one. In this episode, after being assigned a special task by Dr. T'Ana, Tendi enlists Mariner for help. On the USS Cerritos, Rutherford is consumed by a mystery involving a member of the bridge crew. In this episode, we see the return of Fred Tatasciore as Lieutenant Shax. I'll admit, when I first saw this episode, I did not expect where this went.
Agreed.
But we will get to that in a minute. Eric Bauza plays the Cerritos con officer. Marcus Henderson plays Lieutenant Jet. Tom Kenny plays Quimp. Lauren Lapkus plays Jen. Paul Scheer plays Lieutenant Commander Andy Billups. And in a guest role, or as a cameo role, we have Robert Duncan McNeil playing both Lieutenant Tom Paris and his commemorative plate.
Oh, gosh.
The title of this episode invokes the famous line from the 1942 classic film Casablanca, as well as the title of the Star Trek Next Generation first season episode, We'll Always Have Paris, which itself is also a direct reference to the Casablanca quote. This episode is the 13th episode or film to feature the name of a character played by a member of the series' regular cast in its title. In this case, Tom Paris. However, in this instance, the named character is from the regular cast of a different series and is just making a guest appearance. This episode marks the return of Shax and explores the return from the dead phenomena that often appears in the franchise. Among the sessions allude to James T. Kirk's Nexus experience from Star Trek Generations, Spock's rebirth from Star Trek III: The Search for Spock, Neelix being revived by Borg technology in the Voyager episode Mortal Coil, and the appearance of Kimtar / Alexander Roshenko from a future alternate timeline in Star Trek The Next Generation episode Firstborn. A later hallucination experienced by Rutherford depicts Shax in those aforementioned forms, as well as other means that franchise characters returned, including a mirror Shax dressed as James T. Kirk, coupled with an earlier reference to the Mirror Universe, because he did have a what do you call that?
A
Goatee. He did
yeah.
have a goatee. Shax is a Borg drone, referencing the best of both worlds. Shax emerging from a Dyson sphere, a la Montgomery Scott's return in the Next Generation episode Relics. Shax dressed as Neelix from that episode of Mortal Coil, and as James Moriarty in the Next Generation episode Elementary Dear Data and Ship in a Bottle. Shax wearing a Star Trek Next Generation Enterprise era Starfleet Operations Division uniform with Lieutenant rank pips, and a Star Trek the Original Series era Starfleet Operations Division uniform with Lieutenant stripes. During Rutherford's hallucination, one Shax says, "What was the deal with T'Pol's hair for that 1 year?" referencing T'Pol's actress Jolene Blaylock from Enterprise, when she wore, and how she wore a wig for the character, which gave her an odd helmet hair look during the first season of Enterprise. During the same hallucination, Shax says, in the Nexus, it's always Christmas. This is a reference to the Star Trek Generations, where Jean-Luc Picard experienced a Christmas with his illusory children and wife during his time in the Nexus. Which both the Nexus was also referenced by Boimler when he was when they were talking about how people come back from the dead.
Yeah.
This episode marks the second time a show's abbreviation has been spoken by a character, with Boimler referring to Voyager as Voy. It also marks the second time Boimler has canonically hummed a theme to one of the shows, with him briefly humming the theme to Voyager. This episode also reveals that Mariner served aboard Deep Space Nine before the Keto, overlapping with Worf's assignment aboard the station. In addition to Worf, Mariner also references Odo and walks past a Quark's Bar franchise while on Quailor 2. This episode also returns to the Bonestell recreational facility last seen in Star Trek The Next Generation episode Tapestry, which is where they were playing the bomb jock game, the weird pool game.
Oh, okay.
In addition to the appearance of Tom Paris and artwork of USS Voyager, additional references were made to Catherine Janeway, Chakotay, Harry Kim, and the Kazon, and the time Paris broke the transwarp threshold and was turned into a salamander, a process apparently defined as a celerity-induced accelerated somatic mutation rate. If you ever wanted a definition of technobabble, that was it. On Voyager, Tom Paris held the rank of Lieutenant Junior grade, exempting his temporary demotion to Ensign. Here he has been promoted to a full lieutenant. In non-canon books for Voyager, most of the Voyager crew did receive a 2-grade promotion upon their return, including Paris, who became a lieutenant commander there rather than just a lieutenant. This is the appearance of Tom Paris's comm badge on the plate is different from other depictions of the same comm badge design on lower decks, including the one worn by the real Tom Paris in the episode.
Gotcha.
Almost done. Boimler's commemorative Tom Paris plate is a reference to the Star Trek commemorative plates released by the Hamilton Collection. I remember seeing these. The Hamilton Collection did not release a Tom Paris specific plate. However, in conjunction with the episode's release, Star Trek Unlimited released a plate identical to Boimler's Tom Paris plate. Also, StarTrek.com celebrated this episode as the 800th episode of Star Trek.
Really?
Memory Alpha's counts, where I get this information, their count refers to releases and thus differs because it includes the original Star Trek pilot, The Cage, and the 13 Star Trek films, and also counts the 10 feature-length episodes, which are Next Generation's Encounter at Farpoint, All Good Things, Deep Space Nine's episodes Emissary, The Way of the Warrior, What You Leave Behind, and Voyager's episodes Caretaker, Dark Frontier, Flesh and Blood, Endgame, and the Enterprise episode Broken Bow as single episodes. StarTrek.com counted each of those as 2 episodes based on production numbers. That's why if you look in different spots, you'll get different numbers. But basically, somewhere around this show is the 800th episode of Star Trek, period.
Nice.
Depending on how you count. Which brings me to the end of the trivia for this. I've talked a bunch, and so I'm going to let you talk for a bit. What are your thoughts on this episode?
Oh my gosh. Mariner breaks something again. I understand she's the main character of the show. I get it. But every single time, like all the episodes I have seen, Mariner somehow does something that catapults our episode. That's what makes the show good.
Yeah.
It's literally she thinks she can do everything. It winds up getting herself in more and more trouble.
Mhm.
And she literally gets away with it like usual.
Yeah.
But the idea be like, oh, you're going to break for this one. Surprise, surprise to that one.
Yeah.
But the idea the Tinley and Mariner go on this,
Girls trip.
and they don't know each other really, and it's more okay. How many times can we break this
Scratching post. We're just gonna call it a scratching
it's
post.
a scratching post. Yes, it's a scratching post.
We're just gonna call it a scratching
Yes,
post.
a scratching post. Yeah, it is definitely a scratching post. And
I love the ending of this though.
yes, agreed. I'm just gonna get to that. With like just these two characters who don't know each other, and it's just like to the very end where Mariner is gonna try to save Tinley's butt with it. It's like, oh yeah, I just
I don't care.
a beep.
I don't care about the thing. I just wanted the box.
I just want the
And
box.
she goes in there and she carries the box into her office and then jumps into it like a cat.
Well, she is a cat.
She's a cat. I know, but still, that was funny.
That was funny.
The other thing, I don't know if you caught this, was all the stuff relating to Tendy's past.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
Yes.
I was like, wait a minute. I
Because
know a little. There again, I am a very little. I know a little bit on Star Trek, but I was like, wait a minute, isn't Tinley one of those where the women are like the dominant? But
So Tendy is an Orion.
Orion, that's it. Yeah, yeah,
Orions were originally introduced, females only originally,
yeah. And start
in the original series.
of course,
Namely, the very first episode, The Cage.
Yeah.
The first pilot, which most people will remember from like the ending credits, because the shot of the original person who played the first Orion slave girl is always placed at the end of the first season
Yeah.
during those credits. Ironically, do you know who that actress is?
No.
The same one who would go on to play, or was playing at the same time, Batgirl in the Batman 66 TV show.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Same actress.
Wow.
She is the first Orion slave girl.
Really?
And that's how all we knew of these characters for a long time was Orion slave girls.
Yeah.
We think they were the ones who
Mhm.
were enslaved
Yeah.
to Orion slavers
Mhm.
until Enterprise.
Mhm.
Because the Orions disappeared for 3 whole television series.
Mhm.
Voyager makes sense. It was in another quadrant. But TNG and Deep Space Nine, even though the Orions were right there and could have shown up at any time, never showed up for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Showed back up in Enterprise as Enterprise was, a prequel to the original series.
Mhm.
So it was actually bringing in old original series stuff that we hadn't seen in a while.
Yeah.
And they brought back in the Orions. And we learned that the Orion slave girls were not the slaves. It was the men. That was how we learned that.
Really?
Was in an episode of Enterprise 30, 40 years later.
Nice.
And the fact that, she had a past life that she decided to leave to join Starfleet, I thought was very interesting.
I did.
And will come back up
Yeah.
later on.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say.
I gotcha. I like the idea. Be like, you get to not recognize, but you get to explore a little bit more Tindy's past. That's not even her name.
Tindy is her last name.
Yeah,
Because technically she is Ensign Tindy.
it's Ensign Tindy.
Her full name is Ensign Devani Tindy, but
Yeah,
most people are just going to call her Tindy.
Tindy.
Much like most of us think of Ensign Beckett Mariner as Mariner, Bradward Boimler as Boimler,
Yeah,
and Samantha Rutherford, I think that's what it is,
Yeah.
as Rutherford.
Rutherford. But it's just like
Or Baby Bear.
Baby Bear.
That's what you've forgotten this, haven't you?
It's been a while. Yes.
That one of those that episode in the first season where Rutherford is going into different departments.
Yeah.
And he's in security and actually does an amazing job in security, but realizes he likes engineering.
Mm-hmm.
At that point is when Shax first called him Baby Bear.
That's
he was
right.
the baby bear of the department.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
At Shax's last line in season 1 was, "Hang in there, baby bear."
That's right.
And Shax even calls him that baby bear in this episode.
That's right. He does. That's right. That's right. Thank you for the reminder. But yeah, this is a good episode. This is where two characters get to know each other, and definitely when the good doctor just like gets her, be like, "Oh, I don't care about this. I want the box." It just turns into a cat, just
yeah, with the big eyes and everything. It's like, what is in that box?
Catnip.
Had to be as big as her eyes got.
Oh my gosh! And then
She turned into baby cat there for a minute.
Oh, that was hilarious! Absolutely,
but that was hilarious.
Rutherford. What is it?
Rutherford's story? Rutherford trying to figure out what happened to Shax.
Yeah, that was absolutely hysterical. I've got to know.
It's like, and that one guy gets reassigned because he dared ask what happened.
Yeah,
and then Rutherford corners him in the turbo lift, and Shax starts to tell him, and we never find out the full story because apparently we don't need to know.
Apparently,
but it was going off in crazy town.
Yeah, agreed.
But I did love, like, the first time I saw it, and I was seeing all the little hallucinations and stuff, all being references to how past characters came back from the dead. It's like, oh my word! Even except the Dyson sphere is a little weird because. Yeah, Scotty did revive he was trapped in a transporter beam in the on board a ship that was crashed on a Dyson sphere. It wasn't the Dyson sphere itself that revived him. Even though that's the basis for J.J. Abrams's magic transporter of Scotty's, as I call it. I'm sorry, that was one of the things about that movie that annoys me is Scotty's magic transporter. That shouldn't work that way, but beside the point.
Yeah,
we're not here for that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, but it's like Boimler's story.
Boimler's story is great. Granted, I wish Tom Paris had a bigger role in this, but he's almost a nothing character in this. It's just a nice character to show back up for a couple minutes. But that whole bit where he's just trying, the ship still doesn't recognize him because of the upgraded security on it.
Right.
And he's just trying to get there, and he climbs all the way to the bridge in turbo lifts.
And then gets attacked.
And then gets attacked by Tom Paris apparently having PTSD.
Well, when you show up, be like, you're red, you look like you're just like you lost your mind.
It's a Kazon! It's like, it looks nothing like a Kazon. I'll show you a picture of a Kazon. You'll see Boimler look nothing like him.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. But yeah, just like this story is so wacky and nuts. It's a good episode, but boy, is it wacky.
This is one of the weirder episodes. And
agreed.
When I say season 2 is not as good, it's because of weird episodes like this that don't really seem like it. Season 2 for me, and this is just a weird aside, it really felt like they knew that they had used everything they had in season 1 because they didn't think they were going to get a season 2.
Maybe,
but season 1 was so well loved that they had to make a season 2 and really weren't sure where to go with it.
Yeah.
And this is one of those episodes where it feels like we're not sure what the story is yet, and we're just kind of making a couple filler episodes till we figure out what we're doing.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they do go back and reference this in like future episodes. But this one, it's like, okay, yeah, we realized we needed to bring Shax back, so we're going to have an excuse for Rutherford to go, wait, where'd you go? It's like, and they do at least reference the fact that should not remember that because that's some of the memory he would have lost at the end of season 1, but he's starting to remember some things. So
yeah,
fair enough. That means we need to head on to the next episode. Mugato Gumato, directed by Jason Zurich and written by Ben Rogers. The USS Cerritos is dispatched to a planet to investigate an unexplained sighting of a dangerous Mugato. In this episode, we've got Anthony Atamanuik playing Honus, Robert Gilbert playing Patingi, Tom Kenny as Kink, Denobulin 1, and a Ferengi Goon, Phil Lamar as Admiral Freeman and a manager,
Mm-hmm.
Jessica McKenna as Nurse, Denobulan 2 and Ensign Barnes, Ben Rogers as Steve Stevens, and Paul F. Tompkins as Hyde.
Okay.
You know, Shorty played Hyde. The green
yeah,
alien.
that's right. That's right. Thank you. Thank you.
The title is a reference to the confused naming of the Mugato in the original series episode, A Private Little War. This creature was named Gumato in the script, but DeForest Kelly, who plays Dr. McCoy, could not pronounce the word Gumato, so it was changed to Mugato, which Kelly and William Shatner proceeded to pronounce Mugatu. However, Janos Prohaska was credited in the episode as Gumato.
Okay.
The title also riffs on the expression tomato, tomato,
Mm-hmm.
from the song Let's Call the Whole Thing Off by George and Irwa Gershwin. This episode marks the first on-screen appearance of the Denobulan species since Star Trek Enterprise, including their defensive face puff.
Oh, yeah.
The Mugato were first introduced as being native to the planet Neural in the Star Trek original series episode, Private Little War. This episode marks the first appearance of a Kzinti in Star Trek canon since the Star Trek animated first season episode, The Slaver Weapon. While the appearance established at least one Kzinti had joined Starfleet, they may not be members of the Federation, given Riker's dialogue in Star Trek Picard first season episode, Nepenthe. Mariner calls Kink and his associates some creepy throwback Last Outpost style Ferengi, referring to the first appearance of the Ferengi and their fur-bearing uniforms as seen in the Star Trek The Next Generation first season episode, The Last Outpost. The holographic projector that Rutherford and Boimler make resembles the makeshift cannon Captain Kirk built when he fought the Gorn in the original series episode, Arena. Boimler and Rutherford mentioning that a compromise is an agreement that neither side is happy with is a reference to what Jonathan Archer said to Thylak Shran and Soval during their negotiations in the Enterprise second season episode Ceasefire. Archer was the captain of Enterprise, and the Shran and Soval were Andorians, who were not good characters in Enterprise. Oh, their characters ended up good, but the Andorians were aggressive alien species, despite the fact they're one of the founding members of the Federation.
Interesting.
But the Federation hadn't been founded in Enterprise. So anyway, what is your thoughts on this episode?
This episode is interesting. There again, it's one of those be like, oh, we got an adventure today.
Yeah.
And
I feel like this is a filler episode also, to be honest.
Kind of. It's, oh, we're going to go on this mission. Oh, we got to preserve this
weird
creature.
Horned gorilla,
and then be like, obviously they come in contact with the Ferengi. I'm saying that right?
Yes,
Ferengi.
the Ferengi.
Yeah, and
they are the original Next Generation episode style Ferengi.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it's an interesting episode. Like you said, it's probably more of a filler episode, and it's more of if I get these guys right, Boimler and Rutherford. It's them nerding out over a strategy game, and it's a strategy game.
It's a strategy game called Diplomath,
and it's hilarious that Mariner is like, this is the stupidest thing ever, and by the end
she's actually beating them.
Yes, and like one of the like main threads throughout this entire episode that Boimler and Rutherford believe that Mariner is a spy, like this
She's a member of Section 31,
which I don't understand. Section 31.
You saw Star Trek Into Darkness.
Yes.
Okay,
that's right. Yeah.
You will know Section 31 from that.
Yeah.
Section 31 was introduced in Deep Space Nine as
Mhm.
kind of this weird clandestine
Yeah.
part of the Federation
Mhm.
that by that time the Federation had mostly forgotten about, but it still technically existed because it is in the Starfleet Charter.
Mhm.
And they were in that episode. They were trying to get O'Brien and I think it was just they were trying to get O'Brien to work for them instead of and to leave to be their agent on Deep Space Nine, basically.
Yeah.
But they mostly originally were in a Deep Space Nine subplot. We did not see them in Voyager or Enterprise. Into Darkness reintroduced them to most
Mhm.
people, and then it would eventually get reused in
Discovery?
Discovery Season 2 included a bunch of them, and they were involved, I think, a little bit in Picard Season 1. I may be wrong on that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, they are essentially the clandestine uh, secret service of the Federation.
I gotcha.
And in a lot of cases, they are dead. Officially.
Hmm.
Bringing that up for a later episode.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, this was an interesting episode. It was more the conspiracy that's like, oh my gosh, she's a killer assassin.
Mhm.
That's be like she's seen putting a dagger in the
Into shacks.
in the shacks.
And then sucking his blood.
I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, that part came right out of nowhere, but it's like, okay, I know that they're playing that as a joke, and she's probably just sucking the poison out of him.
Uh-huh.
But that does look kind of crazy in the middle of this fight to see it.
Uh-huh. Definitely you don't have
Especially
context that anything going on. But it's just like, and there again, it's Mariner. She wants to throw, she wants to throw this mystery of what kind of person she is, and
because she's trying to keep everyone at arm's length.
exactly. And I think it's like one of her, like there again, it's the kind of character to be like she says in the episode, it's be like anytime I get someone close to anybody, they get moved up or down or whatever,
Like
So-
Boimler did.
like Boimler did, exactly. And I'm curious where that goes. Be like, do we get a full, a full complement of characters who are growing together and becoming friends in the lower decks, or do we have characters move off?
I would say there is one additional character that really kind of joins the main decks characters, and we've actually seen that character in a couple episodes,
Okay.
especially of this season. But that character never really becomes part of the core four.
Okay. I got you. All right. Yeah, this was a good episode. Like you said earlier, it seems like a filler episode. We're definitely not going to get into the what happened with the monkeys.
That was really nothing too crazy. That is the disappointing part of this, is you bring in the Mugato who haven't been seen since the original series.
Yeah.
And you get one nice little jump scare at the beginning of the episode, which you could have done a whole lot more. You could have made this almost like a comedy horror thing.
Yeah, agreed.
But they didn't do that. We went to this other thing where they're more worried about Mariner being, this evil trained assassin.
Yeah.
That's going to kill everybody.
Yeah.
But
I think that was primarily the plot thread of this episode.
I feel like the Mugato were a thing they added, and because they had one silly little joke based around the fact that nobody could say this alien race's name right in the original series.
Right.
And they were going to play with that joke about how there were alternate uses of it, and they did that. But that joke kind of was stale after the first time it was mentioned.
Yeah.
One interesting thing I want to point out, just because I know where it goes, is did you catch when Shax was in sickbay that Dr. Ta'ana kind of was giving him some special treatment?
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm bringing that up because that will come back up.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Now, the other thing we want to talk about is Tendi.
Oh gosh, Tendi. Oh,
going around and getting all the people who haven't gotten their physicals.
Yes.
Which the physical seems very easy nowadays. And the last one
is the doctor.
Patient 0219.8.
Yeah.
It's like, who could that be? That's a weird question. Oh, that's not something to worry about. It's you, doctor. I don't want to be scared. It's like, you should know what this is better than anybody else, you silly cat.
And they chase each other the entire time. It's
And
like,
then
oh,
Tendi,
good job.
and then Tendi injures herself
Yes.
getting the scan, and she does finally get it because it's Tendi. That's what she does. And then the doctor says, "Oh, that wasn't so bad after all." It's like, you're a doctor in Starfleet. You have, in order to become the head doctor at this point, you look like you're 40 freaking years. You've been serving on these ships for 40 years.
Right.
To Anna, or the human equivalent of that.
Uh-huh.
Why the crap are you just now worried of acting like it's a big deal to get scanned by a tricorder? I don't get it. That was a weird thing, but I will admit the links Cindy went to, that was funny. It's that was definitely the third plot. That was not even really focused on. This episode I don't feel was done as well as a lot of the others.
Okay, fair enough.
And admittedly, I had actually forgotten this episode until I rewatched it this afternoon.
Okay.
So yeah, that's, I think, going to bring us to the end of this.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I agree with you. I do want to make a note. If you are watching the show, or if you're watching Star Trek Lower Decks on the app, if you were watching on, PlayStation, Xbox, or whatever,
On the Paramount Plus app or through the Amazon channel?
through the Amazon, not Amazon, but the
Paramount Plus app.
Paramount Plus app, it does be like, for me anyways, be like, I'll watch one episode, try to go to the next one. It literally won't do anything. You literally have to go in, shut the program down, reload it again, log back in, and then watch another episode.
That's annoying.
That is very annoying.
So yeah, that brings us to the end of this episode. Next week we'll be reviewing the episodes Embarrassment of Duplers and Spy Humongous. We'll be reviewing those two episodes next time. But in the meantime, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And we'll catch you in the next frame.
You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page, Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where he tries to draw each and every day. His Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. His Twitter at Jacob Heron, and his Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. You can find Drew on Facebook at Drew Dodgen. His Facebook page Drew's Photo Bin to see his photography. His Letterboxd page at GGeorge759. His Twitter at GGeorge759. And Instagram at Drew Dodgen. You can like us on Facebook at the Cellcast Podcast, on Twitch at the Cellcast Gaming, on YouTube at Cellcast, on Twitter at @cast_cell. The Cellcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or anywhere else fine podcasts are downloaded from. Please rate and review us where you found us, and also on Podchaser. Email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. The Cellcast is a proud member of both the Pop Americana and Culture Box media networks. For more information, please see the link in the description. Our theme song is Drop and Roll by Silent Partner. And remember, that's Cell with a single L.